Missionary Baptist Church in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, also the founder of the 2019 movement. And I want to share a couple of thoughts with you. You know, I was looking at this recent interview that Oprah did with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, his wife, and I thought it was interesting. I wanted to share a couple of things. There's two prevailing themes I've been talking about, and they are part of the critical theory, which the globalists implemented in order to gain a foothold in societies and cultures in order for them to overthrow them. So two of them are the feminist movement, or it's called second wave feminist movement, and also critical race theory. So these are two things that you're going to hear more and more about in this time that we're in. The second wave feminism and critical race theory. Now, if you know about the various strategies in order to gain power, gain a foothold in a certain society, one of them is critical theory. So critical theory tears down the institutions, the historical institutions in the society, so they use propaganda, they use subtlety, they use other things like framing language. In the George Orwell's book 1984, they call it newspeak, but now they call it political correctness. Propaganda, all these are tools that they have perfected, right? So they use them in order to destabilize certain institutions in society, to weaken the society as a whole, and to gain a foothold. So when I looked at this Meghan Markle interview, one of the things that really sat out, the implication, well, I would say it was a lot more than the implication, but she pretty much accused the royal family, Prince Harry's family, of being racist. She talked about how they were curious as to how dark their baby would be when he came out. And, there was such an uproar. And I just want to share a couple of things. First and foremost, if you know about the ruling elite, if you know about the global elite, if you get a chance to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and please share some of the content. If you see it's beneficial. Also hit the notification button, so every time we do a video, you'll get a notification of it. So if you get a chance to go back through some of my YouTube videos, and I talk about the ruling elite, the globalists, the global elite, the New World Order people, whatever you want to call them, if you understand that they are pretty much, they're broken down into a couple different categories. The first category is there's bloodline families. So there's 13 bloodlines of the hierarchy of the globalist New World Order, also known as the Illuminati, the Order of the Illuminati. If you're not familiar with them, they were formed in the 1700s. Adam Weishaupt was one of the founders of the Orders of the Illuminati. They put together a strategy in order to seize control of the world, because they believe that they're a global elite, they're elite class people. And so when we look at the various categories, you have either bloodline families, or you have organizations or people that they've identified out of the culture and the community that they use to help promote their agenda. So either you're one of the bloodline families, the 13 bloodline families, or you're someone that they see can add value to promoting their agenda. So they find people that are from the entertainment world, people that are politicians, people that are in the business world, very successful, people that are leaders in the community that people will follow, people in the educational system or science. They find people in these various places, and they recruit them to help promote their agenda, right? So they're not actually in the bloodline families, but they help carry forth their agenda, and the reward they get is fame, fortune, and power, right? So there's other organizations, and I won't go into this now. I talked about this in previous videos, but you have like the Bilderberg Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the Church of Rome. You have the Club of Rome, and other organizations that and in the Black community, you have the Boule, you have many of the Divine Nine, which is the Black Greek letter organizations. These are all people and the Masonic organizations, these are all lower levels of this organization, and they identify people from these organizations to help promote their agenda. So either you're born in the family, or you're part of these organizations, or someone who can add great value to their agenda, and then they move them forward. Now, why am I saying that? I'm saying that because the 13 bloodline families believe that they are descendants of the serpent seed. So they have this secret knowledge, and they are descendants of the kings and the pharaohs and the rulers of this world throughout history. And because they believe that, they are already elite class. So it doesn't, in their mind, it doesn't matter about white or black or or red or brown or any of these colors. It's all about their class of people, their ruling class of people, and those who will help them promote the agenda. And they even use black people. They use black people that will help them promote their agenda, and these black people get rewarded. That's where the whole concept of the boule came from. They would identify people in the black community that were intelligent, maybe wealthy, influential, talented. W.E.B. Du Bois, who was along this whole boule mindset, he came up with the idea of the talented 10th. So he believed that there was the top 10% of even the African American community that were usable for the overall agenda, and they pretty much were used to control the other 90%. Right? This is all historical. You can go back and look through W.E.B. Du Bois and the talented 10th. But anyway, so you're either in the bloodline family or someone that can add value to their agenda. Now, if you know anything about the royal family, they're called the Windsor family. They're one of the bloodline families, and the bloodline families, many of them originated from Germany. And so originally their name was the Saxe-Goldberg-Gotha family, Saxe-Goldberg-Gotha family. They changed the family name to Windsor in 1917 because the Germans start to get such a bad reputation. So they distance themselves. So most people don't realize that they actually originated in Germany. Now, why am I saying that? The reason I'm saying this is because this whole idea that they're racist against black people because of Meghan Markle, when we understand just by the very nature of them being royalty and a royal bloodline, they look down on everybody who's not part of their bloodline, right? That's why in the royal family, most of them would marry in their own family. They marry second or third cousins. Prince Charles and Lady Diana were actually related through blood. And that's what they would do historically to preserve their bloodline. So even if you weren't black, if you're not part of their royal bloodline, they look down on you, which is where you get the idea of the elite class, right? So this whole notion that all of a sudden people are surprised because they're concerned about this person that married into the family is just absurd, because we all know that they are royalty just because of birth. They're considered royalty, I should say, just because of birth. Not because they necessarily did anything to earn it, but because of their bloodline. They believe that their bloodline, they have elite class bloodline, and that the rest of the world is inferior to their bloodline, right? So we have to get out of this being manipulated by these sob stories. And I'm not saying that Meghan wasn't treated a certain kind of way or she didn't feel a certain kind of way. But see, they use catchphrases, they use politically correct subjects and topics in order to get people to emotionally respond. And a lot of these people are emotionally responding, but they're not even thinking about anything past their emotions, right? So when she starts to use words like mental health, mental health or racism, or especially she's a woman. So these are hot topics. So if you're a woman, if you're a person of color, and if you say you have mental health issues, it's politically incorrect to question anything a person says after that. And that's a form of manipulation and control, social engineering, if you hear me say that. And the reason I say that, it's important to look at it again. And I didn't set the rules. Everybody is playing by these rules. The royal family are considered royal because they are considered to have a elite bloodline, right? And so understand that is what is happening. The other part of that we're seeing here, again, every time, in order to control the narratives, anytime there's a person that is a person of color and a person not of color, especially if it's a white person, they will always play the race card. And when they play the race card, it's supposed to be off limits. You can't even question it, especially if you're not black. You can't even question the narrative because they threw out the race card. You can't even question that she's a female, or she said she was dealing with mental health issues. And again, I'm sure she was depressed or whatever. If she, what she described, I could only imagine being married into a family that doesn't fully accept me. But see, that narrative also is kind of hard to believe or understand because of the fact that this wasn't a new thing. Like, they didn't just start dating. That wedding was planned ahead of time. Anytime you have a royal wedding, it is planned, all the pomp and circumstance. The royal family was there. Everybody knew what was going to happen. And so, it's hard for me to believe that all of a sudden that people were like, well, we're not accepting her. Again, sure, they might have asked, I wonder what color, the skin color of the baby, because she's biracial. But again, these are all narratives that's being pushed in order to kind of control the thought processes of those who are listening. And the final thing I want to talk about is this whole feminist movement, as I mentioned before. And what you're going to start to see, you're going to start to see more of this push of this second wave feminism. It's meant to emasculate men. Even if you look at Prince Harry, who's this strapping masculine man, and he's pretty much like acting like he's almost subservient to his wife. You know, he didn't really say much, and she was doing most of the talking. You know, you think about the fact that maybe he didn't stand up for his wife as much as he should have. You know, all these narratives are kind of thrown out there. And again, you can make your own decision as to how you feel about this. But I just want to tell you about the foundational things, because see, what happens is many people in this day and age, we become emotional and we respond emotionally to things. That's why these catchphrases, that's why these topics and this political correctness or this engineering of language is so important to understand, because they know and they're banking on people grabbing a hold of these emotional cues and not using logic to think things all the way through. And again, if anyone is acting like they're surprised that the royal family was acting like, the very elitist, that's that's the very nature of who they are. They are considered royalty just simply because of the bloodline. That means that they think that they're better and superior than everyone else anyway, even other white people. You know, the rest of Europe, the rest of England is considered a subjects to the royal family, subservient to them. So again, we have to look beyond this emotional trigger that says, "Oh my gosh, they mistreated her. They thought she was inferior." They think everybody's inferior, so that's no question. They knew she was a person of color from the very beginning, and it seemed throughout the process that people pretty much welcomed them in. You know, the media is always going to question things. They're always going to overstep their boundaries, because in our modern media, whether it's the British tabloids or anything else, they're always going to overstep their boundaries because they're trying to get a scoop on the other media services. So they're going to look for the story. They're going to try to stir up dirt. That's what they do. And the other thing that really bothers me, and I have people that I'm very close to and care about, they get so caught up in this drama and they feel so sorry for these royals. You know, Prince Harry and Meghan, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they moved into a $15 million house in California or something like that. I think Harry's worth 20 or 30 million, and I'm just estimating it. He might not be worth 20 million. He might only be worth $10 million. But nevertheless, these people are not suffering the same thing that everyday people are suffering. You know, they, for the most part, they travel the world. They're celebrities simply because of their identity. You know, just to be able to call up Oprah and say, "Oprah, I want to do an interview," and have Oprah just go right away and do the interview, just tells you what class of people we're talking about. And so this whole feigned emotional response that people are, "Oh, we're so sorry for Harry. We're so sorry for Meghan." You know, I promise you, if if Meghan and Harry traded places with 90% of you out there, they'd be ready to do themselves in. They couldn't take it. If they had to live on, $600,000 a year, they wouldn't be able to take it. You know, one of the things that they expressed was, were they going to be able to have enough money to live? And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they said that the royal family in total is worth like $80 billion, right? The whole royal family. And just through his inheritance, Harry's worth tens of millions of dollars. So, and again, for them to get on and kind of give a sob story and have people really emotionally, their heartstrings pulled because of their story. If the only thing that, if your biggest difficulty in life is your in-laws may not accept you, really, that's a reality for many people, even people that aren't dealing with royal families, or even people that aren't dealing with multiracial families, biracial families. Even if that's not the case, there's still struggles in everyday life. And again, we have this kind of false sense of this false reality that's being played out in front of us, but it's really a tool for manipulation to distract the public and get us caught up in things that really aren't that serious when you look at it. If they're kind of isolated from their in-laws for a while, but yet they're living in a mansion, they'll be able to travel. For what I understand, and I had to do some more research, I believe they got $100 million deal with Netflix or something along those lines. So it's not like they're going to be hurting for finances. It's not like they're going to be limited in their ability to do whatever they want to do in life. They're not considered working royals, which means they don't have the obligation and stipulations that the other royal family has, that they have to make public appearances and they have to do charitable work. So they're kind of free to do whatever they want to do. And I'm quite sure without a shadow of a doubt that they're not going to be hurting for anything. And they're going to have a whole bunch of people behind them just simply because of their identity, this elite royal identity that they carry, that says that somehow or another they're better than the rest of the world. So we got to stop looking at everything in black and white and look at it for what it really is. This has been Joe Green. Until next time, peace and blessings to you. And I'll talk to you again. Bye-bye.